Anger can ignite in an instant. One harsh word, one betrayal, one deep hurt, and suddenly it feels like a fire raging inside your chest. The mind starts replaying the moment over and over, feeding the flames. The urge to strike back feels almost automatic. They hurt me, so I'll hurt them back. That reaction is human, it's familiar. Yet ancient Buddhist wisdom offers a radical perspective that challenges this instinct at its core. You cannot defeat your enemy with hatred. At first, this idea can sound unrealistic, even weak. The immediate thought is, if I don't fight back, I lose. But this teaching isn't about surrender or allowing injustice. It's about changing the battlefield entirely. Responding with hatred only keeps the fire alive, inside you. The Buddha's insight points to a smarter approach, understanding that hatred never ends hatred. It only multiplies it. Real strength lies in breaking the cycle, in choosing clarity over impulse. When you stop feeding anger, you take back control, not over the other person, but over your own peace. Let's break it down. When you harbor hatred for someone, who is it really hurting? Sure, you might wish them ill. You might spend your energy plotting some kind of revenge. But who is carrying that heavy, toxic burden every single day? You are. Hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to get sick. It clouds your judgment, steals your joy, and keeps you chained to the very person and the very event that caused you pain. You're giving them free rent in your head, and they're not even paying for it. Think about it in a more practical sense. Imagine you're in an argument. The other person is yelling, their face is red, they're throwing insults. If you respond with the same level of anger, what happens? The fire just gets bigger. It becomes a screaming match, a battle of wills where nobody is listening and nothing gets resolved. You're both just adding fuel to the same destructive blaze. But what if, instead of matching their fire, you brought a bucket of water? This is where the real power lies. Responding without hatred doesn't mean you agree with them. It doesn't mean you're condoning their behavior. It means you are choosing not to participate in the cycle of destruction. It means you are staying in control of your own emotions, your own state of mind. The Buddha taught that hatred is never ceased by hatred. Hatred is ceased by love, or in more modern terms, by understanding, by compassion, by a calm and centered response. So how do we actually do this? It's not easy, especially when you feel deeply wronged. The first step is to recognize the hatred within yourself. Acknowledge it without judgment. Say to yourself, I am feeling a lot of anger and hatred right now. Just naming the emotion can take away some of its power over you. It separates you from the feeling, allowing you to observe it instead of being consumed by it. The next step is to understand where that hatred is coming from. It's a reaction to pain. You were hurt, and the hatred is a shield, a weapon you've picked up to protect yourself from being hurt again. But it's a shield that's also a cage. Now for the hard part, trying to see the other person not as a monster, but as a flawed human being just like you. This is the core of compassion. People who hurt others are often hurting themselves. They might be acting out of fear, insecurity, ignorance, or their own past pain. This doesn't excuse their actions. Let me be very clear about that. Accountability is still important, but understanding their motivation can help dissolve the intense, personal nature of your hatred. It depersonalizes the attack. It's not that they are an evil villain hell-bent on destroying you. It's that they are a person who, for their own complicated reasons, did a harmful thing. When you start to see them this way, your perspective shifts. The enemy becomes less of a caricature and more of a complex individual. This is where the defeat part comes in. By letting go of hatred, you are not letting them win. You are winning. You are freeing yourself from the emotional prison they put you in. You are taking back your power, your peace of mind, and your energy. What does this victory look like? It might mean setting firm boundaries with that person. It might mean cutting them out of your life entirely. But you do it from a place of clarity and self-preservation, not from a place of burning rage. When you act from a place of calm, your decisions are smarter, more strategic, and ultimately better for you in the long run. You've defeated the conflict's ability to control your life. Think about some of the greatest leaders in history who embodied this philosophy. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, subjected to brutal treatment. He had every reason to be consumed by hatred for his captors. But when he was released, he chose reconciliation over revenge. He knew that hatred would only lead to more violence and tear his country apart. By choosing a path of understanding and forgiveness, he defeated the system of apartheid, not by becoming like his oppressors, but by rising above them. He broke the cycle. Martin Luther King Jr. faced unimaginable hatred and violence, yet his entire philosophy of nonviolent resistance was built on this very principle. He knew that meeting violence with violence would only validate the oppressor's narrative and lead to a bloodbath. By responding with love, dignity, and unwavering calm, the civil rights movement exposed the moral bankruptcy of their opponents. They defeated hatred, not by using its tools, but by showing a better way. This isn't just for historical figures. It applies to our everyday lives. That co-worker who undermines you, the family member who constantly criticizes you, the ex-partner who broke your heart. Holding on to hatred for them is like carrying a backpack full of rocks. It just weighs you down. Defeating them means putting down the backpack. It means you get to walk freely again while they are left to deal with their own issues. The ultimate victory is your own peace. When you are no longer consumed by negative thoughts about someone else, you have more energy for your own goals, your own happiness, your own growth. You defeat the enemy by refusing to let them occupy your mind any longer. You win by becoming indifferent to their negativity and focusing on your own light. So, the next time you feel that fire of hatred starting to burn, pause. Take a deep breath. Remember that you have a choice. You can pour gasoline on it, or you can find the water. You can choose to be a prisoner of the past, or you can choose to be the architect of your future. The enemy isn't just the person who wronged you. The real enemy is the hatred itself. And you can only defeat that enemy with a powerful, courageous, and liberating act of letting go. Choose to win the war within yourself, and you'll find that the external battles lose their power over you. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more thoughts on living a more mindful and empowered life. Take care.